Right, I'll just go back a step then so that
Yeah.
it appears on the recording. Right, I've set that in
Yeah.
place now. Okay, right, so yeah, so this is an active filter. Up the top here you've got a summary of everything that's all of the individual records that are below. So I'll just take away this filter that I've put in place there now. So that's a summary of all these records. If I just click on Martine's team, you should now see that under team. That was showing what I selected, and it stripped out everything that's not in Martine's team. If I then want to filter further and just see records from Tommy, I just click on Tommy, and that's going to filter me, and it's only going to show me records from Tommy as an example. So it's just a really swift, easy, user-friendly way to filter down your information without having to go through the whole reporting process and what have you. And then up here you can see that there's a summary of just his data. Yeah.
Cool. That makes sense.
Did you have a question there?
I was going to ask that. The top bit is the top bit Tommy's scores.
Yeah.
So that's fine. And then if you wanted to do that by date, so I don't know if you want to look at Tommy's scores by April or by 2013.
Yeah, I mean, you could literally click on that date, and it will then filter that date and only select anything that's on that day. However, there's also a filter here, an advanced filter, so I can click on advanced filter, and that will give me all of the different parameters that I want to search on, and it'll pull out, you know, for example, the length of the recording of verbatim. So you might not want to see anything that's below 5 seconds of verbatim, because it probably means they've just hung up once they've realized.
Yeah.
And you can just strip that out. But you can drill down to campaign, which would be if you're running a number of surveys, you could pull out the particular survey. If you know what the phone number is of a particular caller, you could find it in here. And if you wanted to filter by low scoring calls and so on, these filters, it's just designed to try and save you a bit of time, really. So I'll just clear that filter. Okay, so we're back to the original. Now, the individual records themselves, you've got a timestamp here on the left and a date stamp. The dialed number won't always show. It's actually up to you what you show in this section. You can pull out any of these fields and just show the information that you want. But that dialed number, in this customer's case, they manually transfer into the system. So that's the access number that we give them. They don't pass on the caller's CLI, so we can't see it here from their switch. That's the survey ID, survey name. The agent is entering an ID when they're transferring, so that's their PIN number. These are each of the 3 questions that they're asking. And there's the total score, average score. Now, this particular customer, they don't really listen to us when we say you need to do it a different way because you're getting cherry picking. They actually think they're this good. And I personally don't believe it. If you're getting 5s from all of your people, then either you have nirvana as a call center, or you're lying and you're ignoring the truth.
Yeah, I mean, I was quite interested when you said 2 things there. First of all, this is the number that the agent dialed. It's like, well, the agent's got to do it, so that's and then secondly, they've got to input the PIN, because if I was an agent, I'd just put the wrong PIN in.
So I mean, we deploy this in 4 different ways, and you know, we don't want to turn down businesses that have infrastructure issues, or they don't want to give us their 0800 numbers so that we can automate the process, or they don't have kit locally that they need to that they could otherwise program to automate the system. But it's not just technically, you know, avoiding cherry picking is more than just a technical solution. You have to have a system that engages the agents in giving first-class service, and that's what I'm going to take you through as well. So it's a mix of technical solution, a facility that they see and they embrace as a self-improvement facility, and also something that they see as a valid way of their good work standing out and being appreciated, and that's exactly what we have here. So it's that mix of those that I want to take you through. After our call, I'll send you an establishment document, and it's got a full description of how the 4 different ways of deploying this technically for you to have a read through and understand, and then we can kind of talk that through in more detail once you've seen all of this if you want to.
Cool.
But ultimately, if you're getting wonderful feedback immediately, then you know that there's cherry picking going on, and it's not of any value. So
I'd almost rather have the honest truth with a lot lower scores. I'd rather
absolutely.
I'd rather because otherwise it's
and an actionable process to do something about it.
Yeah.
So anyway, to take you through this data, you've got the total score, average score, the team, agent. We've got a hierarchy built into here, which I'll take you through shortly.
Yeah.
Customer number. Now, this particular customer wants to. We've set up a process where they can input their customer's customer number, so they can then report by customer's account number.
Yeah.
And then this green or red indicates whether the survey's been completed or not. If verbatim's been left, then you can play that. It will tell you what the duration is before you play it. And if you hover over here, if it's purple, then it means I've already listened to it. If it's pink, someone else has already listened to it.
Cool.
And then you can delete that record, but we have a delay in the delete. And we also keep a delete log, so you know who's deleted it and when. Just really to stop them from doing it if they're a supervisor, for example, and they want to get their team's scores averages up. You can also restrict who has access to delete rights too.
Why would you want to delete things?
Well, if you're let's say you've got remote teams and they're all competing for top spot, and you've got a bad apple as a supervisor, they might think, well, my average scores are getting knocked down because there are some really bad feedbacks.
Oh,
so I'm going to delete those off.
Yeah, so I get that bit. But why would you want the functionality to delete it? What's the benefit? I mean, the non-chip. So if I'm responsible for implementing this type of technology, why as a business leader would I want the ability to delete things out? Is there a good reason for it as well as?
I think mostly it's if they don't complete the survey. And you find that that's corrupting your scores. If like this one has gone to survey and not done anything. So there's two ways we can approach that. We can give you the rights to delete, which obviously is a manual thing, or we can ask you, do you want anything that's showing a naught to be excluded from averages?
Yeah.
So it's really, we just respond to customer feedback on that sort of stuff. Now, another thing that has become apparent is some customers are saying that, they'll get really low scoring feedback, and they'll listen to the verbatim, and the person is saying, oh, actually, I meant it was really good, and I've pressed 1 instead of 5. So we're working on giving the ability to reclassify if you're at a certain level, so that that it doesn't remain as a skew of the reality. So we need to be careful about how we deploy that so that it maintains its integrity. Okay, so right, let's pop into reports. Actually, before we do that, I'll go over to settings. So you can choose what shows here. These are all of the fields that show. What's not showing at the moment is notes, so I'll just add that. Now, your agents would have a private login to this, and they would see only their own data. Now, if they listen to a piece of negative feedback, they're like, oh, hold on a minute, I've just got really bad scores, and it's based on that person's basically grumpy because we won't pay them £10,000 compensation, or whatever it may be. They can explain that in here, and just click out of it. And straight away they've got a voice, they've got a chance of saying, well, look, just to qualify out what's going on here, it's a little bit unfair that they're giving me such a bad time. So here's my viewpoint, and here's what I believe happened for whoever may be reviewing that.
That makes sense.
And that works really well from an agent perspective. It's one of the features that will keep them engaged in this, is that they've got a right of reply, if you like.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, just to show you the hierarchical approach, you've got your campaign. This would list all of your surveys if you had a number of them, and any sub-surveys and within the teams. This would list all of your teams, and then in these would be all of your individuals, just so that you've got a quick overview of what your hierarchy looks like.
And how many layers can you have in that hierarchy? Is it unlimited, or is there like a? I mean,
well, we at the moment we set up your hierarchy for you. So as long as it makes logical sense, then it's unlimited.
Yeah, I mean, ours is about 5, because I should have mentioned this at the beginning, but we've got circa 14,000 people across the organisation, probably 10,000 operational. So it's quite a, I mean, where we have like hierarchy lists that we'll be able to provide in like CSV or Excel files. So that's the sort of thing your normal practice you take. It's just that there's probably 4 or 5 levels, but like literally, it moves every month. So is there like a process for importing hierarchies?
There isn't right now, but we're a swift-moving organisation, and we want to develop this further. And we get a lot done in a short period of time. So our development team are outstanding. So if there's something that you need, I'm very interested in being able to support 10,000 operational people on this. Commercially, that would be very good for us. So you'd tell me to jump, and I'd ask you how high. So
cool.
If that's a good answer for you.
Of course.
Okay. Is there also a lag as well for when this operating system updates itself and when the actual survey is being completed?
Well, actually, it's updating while the survey is still taking place. So as soon as DTMF is being entered, it's going into the system, and it will be appearing on the wallboard, which I'll show you. I'll show you the wallboard views shortly. But it's a live system, and you'll have the full detail of a survey as soon as that survey is completed, including the verbatim. That will all be available. Okay, reporting. So we've created a really whizzy reporting tool that allows you to extract more than you could possibly ever need, I'm sure. Give that report a name here. Decide on the type of report that you want. And what's nice about this is that if there's elements that you can't select in that report type, it will just grey it out for you to help sort of guide you through it. I'm just going to, I could probably spend an hour on the reporting alone, so I'm just going to create one report to give you a view. You select your dates very easily. You'll have seen this sort of thing before, no doubt. Select your start and end times. Decide what data you want to be querying. You might want to do a report on agents or on teams, for example, in which case I'd say, right, it's teams, so I want to do a comparison report of all the teams, and I want to know what their average score is, and I want to know what their NPS is, and I want to know what all the incomplete calls are. And I'll select a bar graph. My options are pie chart. If I've gone into data, you can see grayed out there, there's also a table. I can get this to output to me daily, weekly, or monthly. They go out at 6 a.m. To any number of email addresses that I put in here. And I can tell it to do me a PDF as well.
If you create a report, you can then build like a circulation list that you just automatically sends on a given time. Cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can create as many reports as you want to. So here is my report, and it will color code it all, and I just hover over these, and it will show me, what's going on, and all the explanations of each of the teams, and all the comparisons, and all my report data up here, and I can click that and export it to PDF, or go back and start again. And unlimited numbers of reports here that you can generate. So I think that's fairly straightforward. I'm sure you're familiar with this manner of different reporting systems. I'm going to come back to rewards shortly. I'll go to alerts first. Now, when we engage with a new customer, we always advocate that you benchmark and you have one survey that remains the same no matter what happens, and you use the rest. So you guys have got an enormous wealth of call volume of which to survey. So what you don't need to be doing is running the same survey on every call. You take a control sample for your benchmarking. So let's assume that that's every 10th call will go into your benchmarking surveys. And your first question would be, for example, Net Promoter Score. Your second question would be Customer Effort Score. And your third question would be agent performance. What did you think of the person?
Yeah.
Rate the person that you just spoke to. Now, if they give particularly low feedback, you can then say, well, I want to handle that differently if they give me very low feedback. So let's say your maximum score is 20. Anything below a 10 is unacceptable service. In which case, at the end of their survey, you would play them a message to say, your score indicates that you're not happy, and if you're not happy, we're not happy. We'd really appreciate it if you would give us some more of the detail as to why you're not happy. This information will be reviewed within X amount of time, and if you leave us your contact details, we promise to contact you back with a resolution. So straight away, you've created an actionable voice of the customer facility there, right there and then. So long as you keep your promise. If there is an issue and you do have a review mechanism to then say, okay, within 2 or 3 days, you've made a phone call to say, listen, we've listened to your feedback. This is what we're doing with it. We don't think you've been treated right, or, unfortunately, our business processes don't allow us, or what have you. But ultimately, if that bad feedback, that negative feedback is a genuine complaint, you've created a means to look back through their journey. Particularly if we're carrying your call traffic, because we can record the phone call and append that phone call recording to your survey record. Yeah. So you would say, alert me on each call that has a total score which is below this value. And send the verbatim recording as an attachment and give that a title, unhappy customer. And that would then send to whichever email addresses you put in here. And there goes your alert. Likewise, you might say, actually, send me this on every call that is a maximum score. I want to get that sent to me so that I can give a congratulations to the agent.
Cool.
When you receive that email, it will say in the body, it will have all of the individual. What you saw in the data overview, it will have that string of information that you're showing, and the attachment will be the WAV file, so you can listen to that and forward it on, and just alert the agent and say, well done. Okay, they're unlimited as well. You can set up as many alerts as you like. So if I come into wallboards, now the converse of this negative feedback piece is that, if a customer gives you really positive feedback, they have a good experience, and hopefully you'll agree with me. Whenever I contact a contact center and you'll get somebody who's particularly good, and you think, oh, terrific service, weren't they great? And you think, I must write in, and you never do. No. You're just too busy. But if there's a mechanism that is easy that says, you know what, give them a pat on the back. If you think we're great, you think the person's great, then spend half a minute telling us why. And we'll share that with the agent for their motivation, because it is, as you know, a thankless task, and it can be tremendously rewarding for agents to know, actually, number one, they gave me a great score, number two, they said some nice stuff. It really can be very motivating. So chop it up in that way is my recommendation, and that's another way to keep your agents engaged in this process and help to engender a desire for them to get as many surveys done as possible. And if they know that you have the power to send every caller to survey, whether they choose to or not, then if they've given good service, then why wouldn't they want to have that recognised? Because I think that in spite of the fact that we can technically push callers to survey without, just all we need is a clear down from the agent. So as soon as the agent hangs up, that's a command for us to suck that call back into our network and push it into a survey. So technically that's all taken care of. But if the agent, one, if you haven't promoted it in your IVR, and two, if the agent hasn't reminded the caller, look, it's really useful if you can take part in this quick survey after the call, don't forget, then often they will forget and they'll hang up, and you've potentially missed the opportunity to survey them. However, we can put in place a callback process, which is an automated, dialer blast effectively that says, oh, sorry, you just rang the call center and you forgot to do the survey, would you mind doing it now? So there is a sort of a fail-safe.
Yeah.
But
when you do that type of outbounding on survey, or as you described it, sucking it up, in your experience, do organisations inform the customer that that's going to happen, or almost because it's research?
Yeah. So your choice. Your choices are, if we're carrying your inbound call traffic and you've got your IVR going through our transform system, so we're doing your queuing and your IVR, you would prompt them and say, to improve our customer service, we like to survey you at the end of the call. If you don't want to be surveyed, press 1. And then they're opting out, effectively. But you know what it's like after a 10 or 15-minute phone call, the last thing you're going to remember is that you opted into a survey.
Do you not find? Sorry, I was going to say, do you not find that the risk of that? Because I've sort of read lots of different studies on this, and sort of pros and cons are doing it different ways. Just interested in your views. That if you do it at the beginning, do you not get customers who will opt out at the beginning of the survey, and then either have a particularly brilliant and a particularly bad? I think, God, I would have loved to have. I wish I hadn't have opted out now.
Yeah, well, that's why I don't like it.
Yeah,
that's why I don't like it. I much prefer, and that's a big reason why we've developed this in the way that we have, to get the agents involved in it. Because if a voice to the customer program is going to succeed, it's because the agents love it, and they're engaged in it, and they want to get the feedback because they're taking personal responsibility for giving great service every time. Whether or not the customer is in the right or wrong, they can still give great service. They can still be their best every single time. They tend not to be if they're not being recognised for it, or if they think they're getting a hard time, or if they're just bored. They've been there a long time and they've disengaged a bit. But if you can create a process that involves them and they can see that the customers appreciate great service, and generally they do, and there's that historical log, and they're visible from management, and that visibility is based on customer feedback. There's no personality involved. It's a level playing field. There's no supervisor that they've got a clash with, or there's perceived bias that an agent may think, well, they're listening into my calls, but they don't like me anyway. That's all out the window.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But I agree with you. I'm not a great fan of opt-in, but we can facilitate it. But I'm not a great fan of it. Something else that we can facilitate, and it might work for you in some ways, is that if we're carrying your call traffic, you could actually enable in-call rating of experience. So at any point within the call, they could press 1 to 5 as a discrete service to say what they think of the service they're receiving at that point in time, and we can capture that. I think it's it'd have to be used sparingly, but possibly for new starters or something like that, to alert supervisors to an agent that's struggling or what have you. But the technical capability is there nonetheless.
Cool.
Okay, what you see in front of you is our wallboard area. Now, you can have various different views of wallboard, so you can set up an individual agent view, a team view, or a campaign-wide view, which might be a site-by-site, or a brand-by-brand in your case, which could be visible within the, essentially they're just web pages, so you're going to publish them on a screen somewhere, or even on your iPhone or whatever you want to see them when they're all available there. What this shows here is that you can tick these and it will then rotate whatever's in this. So if you've created extra ones, it will rotate them after these many seconds. If I go to this one. So this is a customizable look and feel, and you can self-customize that. You've got your agent lead table on the right here, and depending on how many agents you have in that particular wallboard, this will just fluctuate throughout the day depending on each survey they get. Every time a new survey comes in, it'll update, and the leader will always show. It'll come in every few seconds and show their photograph if that's what you want. Or some of our customers do avatars, and then you can customize what information displays here. Is it today, the last hour, the last month, or a custom period in the UK or a particular region? And then individual question scores show here, and this is your swingometer for NPS, and we can do an NPS meter here with today and last month. It's really up to you how you display this. And down the bottom you can see the newsfeed ticker coming in here. So I'll just show you how you customize that. I go to edit. These are all the things that you can edit, and you can change all the color schemes and the title, import your own logos and background images. You can change the color schemes around the questions and around how the agents are displayed. Change the color scheme of the ticker and the scoring. You can change what dates will show in your central area for the data and your start and end dates. You can change what defines the leaderboard. So is it the number of surveys they've done, or is it the quality or the scores, or the number of completed, or the number of maximum scores they've got, or is it the number of reward points that you've assigned to them for their service over a period of time? So flexibility on how you display that leaderboard. And then news, essentially you can input your own text here and here, any of these 5, and they'll rotate. And then you can input RSS feeds of your own, or we've got some common ones that we've popped in here that you can display just to flow along the bottom of the screen. So what we've got here are secondary wallboards, and again you can create as many of these as you like. And these just give a more defined view of the data that's coming in real time. So give you a good example of this one would be if I view the line chart. This is all the team views as a line chart, and I can extract any of them out. And that will rotate in a moment onto a different view. So that's rotated onto a different secondary wallboard, which is just a leaderboard who's in gold, silver, and bronze, depending on how many teams, and it'll just rotate that through the day. Really, they're kind of designed to try and make it a little bit more fun. Yeah. Something that we do that's nice as well is when you get a maximum score for a particular advisor, the wallboard will flash a new screen and it will say 5-star call up at the top. They will put their big photograph in the middle and just say, congratulations, Agent X, you just had great feedback from the last call, well done. Just another bit of fun and a pat on the back when it's due. Yeah. Okay, so if I pop into rewards, now this is a very recent addition. Again, customer driven. It's they're always trying to reward great service and loyalty and what have you, and going the extra mile. And this is a statistical, very easy method to administer. You can create as many reward campaigns as you like. You can create your start and end date, so this could be a daily program or a monthly program, or whatever period you want, or several running in tandem. And you would say, right, on a given day, to qualify for rewards, you have to have at least 30 surveys completed. Yeah. So it's another way of saying, you're actually responsible for not cherry picking, or you're not even going to be in the rewards program. So these are the rewards parameters. So this is based on percentage of your maximum score on each survey. So if an agent scores between 0 and 25% of the maximum available on a call, then you can award them points. But actually, I would say that you should be deducting them points, because that's completely unacceptable. to be getting between 0 and 25. So you would say, well, I'm going to deduct 10 points for that. Between 25 and 50, actually that's still unacceptable, I'm afraid, but not quite as unacceptable, so I'm going to deduct 5. This is better. At least it's above, middle ground. So here I'm going to give you 5 points. Here I'm going to give you 10 points. And if you're between 90 and 100, actually, I'm going to give you 25 because that's where we want you to be. So I'm going to really give a good step to encourage you to be up there. For every maximum score you get, I'm going to give you a bonus, which is 50 points. And then we look at how can we engender them to compete with each other and be above the average standard. So if you're above the average of all of our agents in that team, then I'm going to give you a bonus of 50 points. If you're below, I'm going to deduct 50 points from you. If you're the top scorer, then I'm going to give you a whopping 500 points for being top of the leaderboard at the end of that period. If you're second, I'm going to give you 250. And if you're in third place, I'm going to give you 100. And then this final one was aimed at consistency, but I think we need to do a bit more work on it because, it's to say if you're better than yesterday, we'll give you a bonus, but that sort of stops at some point, and you can't maintain that. So if you then have a bad day, of course, the next day you're going to get a better than yesterday, aren't you? So we need to find an algorithm that says, okay, what is the measure that proves that you are maintaining your consistency that deserves reward. So if you maintain your consistency between X and Y, then we're going to give you this. And then if you improve your average on last month or the last period by X%, then we're going to give you this. So that you're just thinking a little bit more long term and a little bit more goal driven.
Yeah.
So the next step for this is to integrate it with some reward programs where an agent can actually redeem this against a monetary value of some kind. So one of our customers on this system is Tesco Club Card. So we're talking to them about what it will take to be able to assign, for agents to be able to assign the monetary value that you say these points are worth into their Tesco Club Card account. And they can then redeem it, and you wash your hands of it. They just get on with it, and we then send you a bill for that value. And all the admin is very simple. And then likewise, we're talking to Red Letter Days and a couple of other reward companies, Argos as well, about being able to redeem this as a monetary value for giving great service. So they hit that service level benchmark, and they can go off on Red Letter Days for a weekend in Paris with their partner if that's what they want to do, or they can go parachuting if that's what they want to do, or they can buy a new DVD player or whatever it might be that's relevant. That's where that's going. Then if I come back to data overview, the next stage for us here, and perhaps you could give me a little bit of feedback here, is that we see the potential for this to become a structured complaint handling system. So where you get particularly negative feedback, often that will be because right, and there's something to complain about. So how do we help you make that actionable? Well, the way that we're thinking is that we open up another column to the right here that says complaint handling, and in here will be a button saying add to complaint handling. You click on that button, it will open up 2 fields. The first field will be the assignment of a sequential complaint ID, and the second field will be a manual entry field where you can assign your own CRM complaint handling ID. You then save that, and that record will then be mirrored in complaint handling up here. And you'll go into complaint handling, and it will be a mini CRM around handling complaints. So you'll have a record log of each conversation that you have with them, notes who's handling what, assigning tasks with different individuals to take that complaint forward, a risk level. So is this a particularly valuable customer, or are they particularly influential? Therefore, they have a high level of priority. and then also a closing down process where once you've resolved that complaint, you then resurvey that caller. And that resurveyed caller, you would dial a particular number, you would enter the complaint, unique complaint reference, you would dial the caller, it would record that conversation, you would then transfer them into an end of complaint, complaint close off survey, and you would resurvey them, and you'd be able to tie that close down with the original survey, their original feedback, and their feedback they're giving you once you've resolved their issue. And you can start to report on how is that affecting the NPS.
Yeah. Cool. That sounds quite interesting.
Yeah. Have you got any questions at this point on that one?
So I think probably the $1 million question, or $64 million question, is so around the avoiding cherry picking.
Yeah.
What I think what I've heard from you is that the main way that you're doing that is through making it agent-led and agents wanting to do it, as opposed to technology doing it. Am I right?
No, it's a mix of the two. It's just that we recognise that. Right, so being in our position, okay, if I come to Direct Line and I say, I want you to move all of your inbound phone numbers off your current supplier's network and onto our network,
yeah.
The barriers to that are IT are going to say, actually,
yeah, definitely
really not sure about this. Okay, so we have to have a way of still making the traditional way, or the way that all the other post-call IVR companies do it, which is to manually transfer.
Yeah.
So it has to become agent-led. So we're offering that as, I think this is the best system for doing that, as an agent-led system. But if we were able to get your inbound call traffic, or even a proportion of it, and how would you give us a proportion of it? What you would do is persuade IT to put in place a ratio plan on their 0800 number, which means that every 10th call goes via a hosted geographic number that we embed in our platform, and we then map that back to your call center. Right? So they're still maintaining control of that 0800 number, but they're able to hive off a portion of that traffic to us. All right, we'll push it back to you, so it still goes through your IVR, but we can then record that phone call, and we can write a script to say, right, when there's a clear down from the agent, that call will go into survey.
Yeah, I think there's still then, again, from the sort of studies I've read, even when you do that, it's like the agent clearing it down, because I think almost like if the agent's really, if the agent really doesn't want to do it, they can just sit at the end of the phone until the customer gets bored, almost, and hangs up themselves.
So yeah, okay. So if you can get some buy-in from IT, then another way to approach this that works very well, depending on what what local telephony you're using. Now, we have a mid-call scripting tool, which effectively can be an applet that's on screen. Now, it can actually be invisible. So if there's on screen, if they're closing down the call by hanging up, by clicking an end call button, or if they do that on their handset, if you embed within that what we call a mid-call transfer code, that would effectively be a *1234, which would be the agent's PIN number. That would tell our system to send that caller to survey. Now, the agent effectively would think they're ending the call. Okay, as far as they're concerned, they're ending the call in the normal way. If they do that on screen, I don't know how they do that currently, but if they do that by clicking something on screen, then embed behind that an instruction to our network to say, take this call back and push it to survey.
Yeah, so just again, sorry, I was just going to sort of say again though, is there because the guidance we've been provided by like DPA experts is that if you've got to, if you're going to outbound them or sub the call up and push them that way, you've got to have given the customer the choice of doing that. Otherwise, you based on the way that we should be using their information. So is there still, again, I'm sorry, I'm trying to just play devil's advocate here, because that's the challenge I get back from our organisation is with this technology. If they really want to cheat it, and they're not just not ask the customer, but because I've been told that, the way that one of the way you would have to ask for permission from the customer at some point, whether that be in the IVR or manually. I mean, so you can't just transfer the customer without seeking permission. Would that be your experience as well, or not? Because you mean, with us coming from a bank organisation, and this has been being really overly blunt, we've got quite a lot of risk-averse people who will sort of call it, will almost like err on the very, very risk-averse side of things. And I don't know how, if there's other organisations, and I'm not looking for you to name any of the organisations, but if there's organisations that don't inform customers but just transfer them almost to take the agent completely out of the loop.
Well, I think that there's probably more of what we're experiencing, because we've positioned this in the way that we have, is that actually agents are engaged and they are wanting to say that you're going to be surveyed now, unless you hang up.
Cool.
So, you know, that as much as there's valid reasons for being devil's advocate and being cautious and not wanting to do things that DPA are saying you shouldn't be doing, the fact that the agents become bought into this and they become advocates of it too, and that they're selling it to the customer to say that, do you mind taking part in a survey now? It really helps us.
Yeah, I sort of completely buy into that, Brian, and that's my viewpoint on it. But we've got some quite, as within any large organisation, there's some cynical people out there that say, well, actually, because we would love to have this sort of thing in our organisation where we could pay people, incentivise them on the back of this. And the nervousness around it at the moment is, well, it sounds like there's, whichever way you do it, there's a pretty easy cheat. But I mean, I'm of the view of actually you make the reward for being engaged with it greater than the reward for the penalty for having a poor score. So you make it engaging rather than, you don't make it a penalty, you just make it as a, like I think you said earlier, it's a qualifying, you've got to get hit a certain, if you don't hit a certain volume, you don't qualify for the potential incentive, as opposed to you lose out on money if
exactly. So if you're cherry picking, if they have to take, if they're taking 100 calls a day, and the minimum entry is 90 calls, then they're going to think twice about, if they think they've had 30 bad calls in that day, they know that they're going to get nothing, or they're even going to get a deduction of 100 points for not meeting the quota. So you can use it in that way. I don't think that there is a holy grail, because if people want to cheat, they're going to find a way to cheat.
Yeah, that's my view as well.
But ultimately, they're the people that you need to manage out of the business.
Yeah, and
using this system, eventually you're going to see their standard versus the standard of the people that are embracing it. And actually, what might happen, and what does actually happen, is that by default, those people get dragged into performing well because everybody is moving forward. And they're seeing them being well rewarded, and they're seeing them, being appreciated, and great work rubs off on and that sort of motivation and the good spirit and all that, it rubs off. So what I would suggest to you is, if you genuinely would love to have something like this in your organisation, is to run a pilot and take that insight from that pilot to the business and say, this is what we're doing. You were worried that people would cheat. This is our actual experience. And run that without all of the bells and whistles, run it without any technical solution in place if you want to. So there has to be agent driven, and use that as your benchmark, because if the agents engage with that, then who cares about the technical solution? The technical solution actually is a streamlining rather than a necessity, because you don't trust your people.
Yeah, and in that sort of scenario, you'd use almost like a speed dial number at the end of a call for the agent to press #123, and then it transfers to your platform to conduct a survey.
Precisely.
And your costing model, is it like is it almost like you do it in parameters, almost like into?
Yeah.
I mean,
let me just
you do
quickly
it up to
open it up.
10,000. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll send this to you in a moment, but I'll just quickly run through it with you so that you definitely understand it.
You know, actually earlier in the call you said, oh, you could run lots of bespoke surveys in an organisation your size. I know we could do, but actually, when it boils down to a call, there's probably only 4 or 5 things we'd really be interested in measuring anyway, and they're quite consistent, I think, across the piece.
Yeah, well, what's nice is that, you know, if there was 1 or 2 bits of information that every now and then you thought, I'd like to ask our customers that, you could just set up a survey and run it for a week and just rotate it in, you know. Okay, so can you see the pricing sheet up on your screen now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, if you look on the left-hand side, here's the agent number bandings.
Yeah.
Clearly, you're massively over this, so we would need to talk to you about, you know, if you ever got to the point of everybody using it.
Yeah.
But you can start with just up to 10 agents. At that level and up to 100 agents, your survey setup fee is 750 quid. And you pay a package fee per month, depending on the agent numbers. So at just 10 people, it's 200 quid, and you get 1,000 surveys included in that. And over your allowance, you pay 20p a survey.
So that means, would you have something that limits the number, if that makes sense? So
no, we allow you to carry on making them. We'll just build them for you retrospectively.
Okay.
So if you've only committed to that level, then effectively you'll get 1,000 surveys for free, and then the 1,001st survey will charge you 20p for. Yeah.
So can you put a stop on it if we wanted to, on an alarm almost to cap the spending? So if we get to 900 and we've got 1,000 allowance to, is it very easy for us to see that so we can stop it?
Yeah, we haven't been asked to yet, but there's no problem in doing that.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking out aloud, if I'm being honest. I don't know if we were running a pilot and we had a pilot spend on something, we might want to get to a point where if we had 100 people doing it, we got to 20,000 really quickly. It's like, God, we might end up spending 10 grand in a day without knowing.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, okay. Well, you know, we've tried to keep it a fairly simple pricing structure, and if you needed some safety nets in there, then I'm sure we could accommodate. And then, you know, likewise, you can see here, if you're 100 agents, it's a couple of grand a month. You get 20,000 surveys, which would be quite a lot. 10p a survey, effectively. And if you needed to add additional agents outside of your, you know, if you go over to 101 agents and you don't want to go up a band, you just pay an extra 20 quid for each extra agent.
Cool.
And you can run as many surveys as you want, and this is aggregated across those surveys.
Yeah.
But you would just pay a setup fee for each survey. And then there are price breaks down here. All of these costs are based on a 90-day rolling notice, so if you're not tied in. And then if you commit to 12 months, you get 10%, and so on, you know, extra discounts there. If we're carrying your incoming call traffic, that makes you a telco customer, so we'll give you a further price break there. And if you're paying annually in advance, we'll give you 10% again.
Cool.
So that's as many as you like, yeah. You know, you just need to tell us how you want them to be deployed and on what rotation basis. And, you know, we would give you an access number per survey if we don't have your inbound number, and then you would decide how you're going to rotate those. Or if we give you one access number, you could say, right, on this day I want to play survey number 1, on that day I want to play survey number 2, or for this many hours play survey number 1, or rotate them. You know, every 50, you know, every 50 calls goes into that one, and then the next one. You tell us what the rules are, and we'll set them up. Cool. So just down below here are some other features that you can have. This is what's included. If we've got your inbound call traffic, then we can record the call. We can append that to the survey. We can give you home worker access in the same way. We can capture verbatim and have it transcribed.
Is that a manual transcribed, or is that like software?
It is manually transcribed. It is manually transcribed, but we've got quite a slick process which keeps the cost down quite well, and we are investing fairly soon in voice analytics, which will give us automated software transcription, and we can back that up with a manual process to check quality, and that will bring the price right down. But you're looking at about 40p, 50p per recorded minute at the moment for verbatim to be transcribed. And what we've got some customers doing is setting the rules around that and having every survey record that has verbatim that lasts more than 30 seconds and has a score below below 5, for example.
So angry customers.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And then we have at the moment we've got quite a good turnaround. It can be as little as 2 hours on that.
Yeah.
But we don't promise a survey. We promise a service level of 24 hours. But it's turning around in 2 hours and below. Voice biometrics is coming soon. I won't go into that. It's a long conversation, but really exciting. And cherry picking, we've talked about that, and then verbatim text analytics, which again, that's another conversation. But I'll follow up with an email to you, and I'll include that. There's also a document that details the establishment process, and there's just some useful information in there for you to read through that kind of helps to probably clear up a few questions you might have. And then I'll upload this recording to YouTube, and I'll send you a link to it.
Perfect.
Yeah,
that's been really useful.
Right.
So that's been good. I think probably let us absorb it a little bit and have a read through the stuff you send through. I'm going to have a conversation with Jules. He's out of the country at the moment, but when he's back in the country, about his views on this sort of stuff. And then we'll be in touch at some point.
Great. Okay. Well, I might not give the video to you today because my wife will be home soon.
No, don't.
I'll get the other stuff to you before I go, and then I'll give you another note on Monday.
I'm not going to look at it till Tuesday at the very earliest, so I mean, don't kill yourself to do it tonight.
Okay. All right. Super.
That's been really useful.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, Carl. Thanks, Johnny.
Cheers. Bye.
No worries. Bye-bye now.